Revealed, the incredible truth behind a doctor's warning that changed my life forever. Jake Lawson stood in the cluttered garage, grease-stained hands trembling. The words from Dr. Morelli echoed in his mind, a relentless drumbeat. If you don't slow down, you could face serious health issues. The once vibrant world he navigated now felt overwhelming, as if the weight of 2 lives rested squarely on his shoulders. Emily needed him. She was only 17, navigating her own grief, and he couldn't let her down. But at what cost? As he tightened the last bolt on a rusted old truck, memories of his father flooded back. Memories of laughter, of lessons learned amidst the metallic symphony of clanging tools, a legacy he was determined to uphold. Each honk of a passing car outside reminded him that life didn't stop for the broken. Maplewood knew that well. It was a place where everybody waved and said hello, where the soft breeze carried the scent of apple pie from nearby windows, reminding him of home. Days turned into nights under the blaring fluorescent lights of the garage. With every drop of sweat that fell, Jake felt guilt creep into his chest. He was doing this for Emily, their dreams entwined with each turn of a wrench. He worked to feed her and keep their roof intact, but at the expense of his own health. The reflection in the mirror showed dark circles under his eyes, a gaunt version of the brother Emily adored. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, with the doctor's warning, tables turned. A tightening knot formed in his stomach. He thought of Emily's laughter, the way it lit up even the dullest days. He wanted to be her rock, not a crumbling wall. He felt the pressure swell as he looked at her. Responsibilities clouded his vision, but for a man like Jake, failure was not an option. The town's whispers of pride hung over him like a shadow, pushing him forward even when his body screamed to rest. It was then that Tom, the old veteran who had advice dripping from wisdom-laden wrinkles, stopped by. Life's about more than just the grind, son. Jake felt a pulse of resistance. His worth was tied to the grease and oil, wasn't it? But Tom's steady eyes saw past Jake's bravado, pushing him to assess what success meant outside the garage walls. Just as Jake felt a flicker of hope begin to reshape his perspective, Emily knocked on the garage door. He was struck by the hesitation in her timid voice. Jake could see it, the unasked questions dangling in the air between them. The sharing of burdens felt dangerous and yet vital. Suddenly, the garage felt too small for the weight of their untold fears. But then, a piece of family history came crashing down, shaking the very foundations on which Jake built his understanding of sacrifice. A letter, forgotten in a drawer, stirred up years of emotions and complicated his quest for redemption. Would he finally find a way to navigate this emotional storm, or spiral deeper into despair? The flickering light of hope felt so far away as uncertainty loomed larger than ever before. Jake took a deep breath, his heart pounding as he slowly reached for the letter. The envelope was yellowed and frayed, time etched across its surface. The weight it carried felt heavy, not just with ink but with memories long buried. He tore it open, his hands moving almost mechanically, a whirlwind of emotions churning inside him. Inside was his father's familiar scrawl, a voice that still echoed in Jake's mind. As he read the carefully crafted lines, a mixture of pride and pain filled him. His father had written about the importance of balance, emphasizing that life was fleeting and to truly live meant embracing all its facets, not just the work and sacrifice but also the moments of joy and rest. Jake, he read, I worked hard to provide for you and Emily, but I forgot to live. Don't make the same mistake I did. Love fiercely, and take care of yourself. You can't be there for her if you're worn down to nothing. Tears prickled at the corners of Jake's eyes. Every word felt like a punch. His father's wisdom was wrapped in concern, a plea to embrace life fully. The letter, dredging up emotions he'd tucked away, revealed new fears. Was he already following in his father's footsteps? He didn't want to be just a provider, he wanted to be a brother, a mentor, a friend. Yet, how could he focus on anything but survival? As he glanced to the entrance of the garage, Emily stood there, arms wrapped around herself, her eyes wide as they searched his face. She took a hesitant step forward, the short distance between them suddenly stretching into a chasm filled with unspoken words. "Jake, are you okay?" Her voice wavered slightly, the worry evident in how she held herself stiff, ready to spring away if he faltered. It stabbed him with guilt she shouldn't have to carry any of his burdens. He gestured her closer, the letter still crumpled in his hand. I found something." His voice cracked, and a lump formed in his throat. He wasn't sure how to share this discovery with her, how to peel back the layers of grief and responsibility they were both steeped in. Emily took another step and reached out, gently taking the letter from his unsteady fingers. She read over his shoulder, her brow furrowing as she absorbed the words. Each line passed between them like a tether pulling them together. "What does it mean?" she asked softly, looking up at him with concern that melted his heart. "It means I need to take a step back." The words felt foreign on his tongue. "I can't do this all alone, and neither should you." A breath escaped his lips, the weight lifting just a fraction. He could feel a change stirring within him, igniting a flicker of hope. But what about the garage? What about everything? The trembling in her voice caught him off guard. She was holding her breath, waiting for a lifeline to be thrown, and Jake realized that perhaps he needed to let go of some of the weight he bore for both of them. "We'll figure it out together," he promised, his heart racing with the possibility of a new path unfolding before them. For the first time in a while, hope felt tangible, like a rope tugging them toward a brighter day. That evening, they sat together on the worn couch in their living room, the glow of the lamp warming the space. They dove into conversations they had both avoided for too long. Dreams, fears, plans for the future. Genuine laughter began to break the tension that had settled over them like a heavy fog. But as the sun dipped into the horizon, shadows crept back in. The looming question remained: could they truly face the truths of their lives, confront the grief that lingered like a ghost, and emerge stronger together? Jake's heart raced, knowing tomorrow would bring new challenges. As he glanced at Emily, a newfound determination ignited within him. What if, in sharing their burdens, they discovered a power they never knew existed? Would they find the strength to move forward or retreat back into their individual shells? Just as the evening's calm lulled their fears, there was again a sudden knock at the door, unanticipated yet looming with potential uncertainty. Jake exchanged a worried glance with Emily. Who could it be now? What unexpected revelation lay beyond that threshold? Jake's breath hitched as the knock echoed in the quiet of the room, cutting through the warm moment they had begun to build. The air thickened with unspoken questions, both of them frozen in a cage of uncertainty. Emily's gaze darted to the door, then back to him, her eyes wide with anxiety. Should we answer it? Her voice was barely a whisper, but he heard the tremor beneath her calm facade. I guess we have to, he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. He got up from the couch slowly, every step feeling like a journey through thick fog. He wiped his palms on his jeans, trying to wipe away the nervousness that had settled in. As Jake opened the door, the world outside instantly felt foreign, a stark contrast to the cozy warmth of their living room. Standing on the doorstep was a stranger, an older man with graying hair and weary eyes that held a weight of their own. He looked as if he had walked straight out of a heavy rainstorm, and something in the way he stood there spoke of loss and urgency. Jake? The man asked, his voice thick with emotion. Yes? Jake felt his heart race. There was something familiar about the man's features, although he couldn't place it. I'm Dr. Sullivan, the man introduced himself, his hand rubbing the back of his neck as if preparing for a tough conversation. I was your father's doctor. The weight of those words struck like a wall collapsing around him. Memories of his father, of times when Jake had felt small and overwhelmed by confusion, flooded back. What do you want? Dr. Sullivan's eyes softened, revealing a depth of sorrow. I'm here to talk about your father's last days. There are things you need to know, things I wish I had told you before. Jake felt the floor shift beneath him. He shot a look back at Emily. She was at his side now, gripping his arm, sensing his turmoil. What do you mean? Is this about his illness? Partly, the doctor said, taking a deep breath like he was preparing to dive into deep waters. But more than that, there were things he wanted you to have, things he never got to tell you. What do you mean by things? Jake pressed, a mix of fear and anticipation twisting in his gut. He needed to know, he had to know, even if it hurt. Dr. Sullivan's eyes grew distant, as if he were recalling memories long buried. Your father held on to many regrets, Jake. There were moments he cherished, and dreams he didn't pursue. But he also had some plans for you and Emily he never mentioned. Jake's heart raced, the words swirling in his mind. How could he be holding on to these regrets, moments not shared? The thought of unfulfilled dreams spilling over into their lives felt like a heavy anchor dragging them down. He wanted you both to know, to remember life is more than just survival, Dr. Sullivan continued. He believed in you too, in the bond you share. He wanted you to have a letter. With that, the doctor reached into his coat pocket and produced an envelope, worn at the edges, similar to the one Jake had seen earlier. It was inscribed with both their names, and Jake marveled at how events seemed to entwine like threads of fate. Take this, Dr. Sullivan said, handing it over. He hoped it would guide you when the time felt right. It's time to let go of the guilt and embrace what's to come. Jake stared at the envelope, feeling the weight of his father's words still lingering in the ether. Would this be what they needed to move forward? What's inside? Emily asked softly, leaning in closer. I don't know, Jake admitted, his voice just above a whisper. But maybe it's time we found out. As he held the envelope between trembling fingers, fresh determination flooded him. The promise of a new chapter hovered just beyond their reach. Holding her breath, Emily glanced at him, searching his expression for courage that would match her own. In that moment, the knock at the door shifted from a mere interruption to an invitation, a possibility that could either shatter or reshape everything they thought they knew. Jake slid open the envelope, the air catching in his throat, acutely. Aware of the adventure that lay ahead. What hidden truths awaited them inside, and how would it change the path they were on? As he began to unfold the letter, his heart raced with possibilities, and the sound of hope blossomed in the silence around them. What awaited behind those carefully penned words would determine more than just their future. It might redefine everything they understood about love and family. The beginning of something profound and unexpected was waiting, a truth just waiting to be revealed. Jake's fingers trembled as he slid the letter from its envelope. The world narrowed to the crisp texture of the paper, each folded crease a promise. He glanced at Emily, her eyes brimming with curiosity and concern. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his father's unspoken words crushing him and lifting him at the same time. Here goes nothing, he murmured, unfolding the letter carefully. The handwriting was familiar, his father's neat cursive, filled with intention and warmth. Jake began to read aloud, his voice steady yet filled with an underlying tremor. My dear Jake and Emily. The words wrapped around them like a warm embrace, each syllable a connection to the man they lost too soon. Jake felt Emily lean in closer, and he could almost sense the pulse of shared memories in the air between them. I know this may come as a surprise, or perhaps even a burden, but there are things I wish I could have shared with you. Life has a way of getting complicated, but never forget that family is what matters most. Jake's heart sank a little. Would this be about his father's regrets? I regret the time I spent away from you, Jake read, his throat tightening. I sacrificed too much for my work and lost sight of what truly mattered. If I could go back, I would prioritize our moments together over everything else. Tears pooled in Emily's eyes as she listened, and Jake felt the sting of his own rising. Remember, you both are stronger than you think. Together, you can tackle anything. I want you to find joy in the little things, no matter how difficult life gets. The words echoed in the silence. Jake's mind raced. Was this the guidance the doctor had spoken about? Jake continued reading. There's so much I believe in you too. You have dreams ahead of you, dreams that are worth fighting for. Follow your hearts, even if the path seems unclear. And please, take care of each other. Wow, Emily breathed out, her voice a whisper woven with awe. It feels like he's right here with us. Jake nodded, emotions swirling inside of him. His father's heart still beat within those lines, urging them to move forward with courage. There was a final paragraph that caught him off guard. Lastly, I've left you something, a small token of my love, hidden in the old shed in the backyard. It might give you something to strive for, something to remind you of the joys we shared. What could it be? Emily asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. I have no idea, Jake replied, his pulse quickening. But it feels like a new adventure. He folded the letter gently, thoughts swirling. It felt bittersweet, like bittersweet chocolate rich with longing, yet promising something sweet, too. What if this is the closure we need? Jake glanced at Emily, who looked thoughtfully toward the door as if she could see the shed calling them. Maybe we should go find out, she suggested. Her enthusiasm sparked something in him, a glimmer of hope. Yeah, let us do it. They exchanged a smile filled with excitement and uncertainty, the anticipation twisting in his gut. Jake could almost feel his parents' encouragement echoing through the space as he took Emily's hand, warmth radiating through their clasped fingers. Just as they stepped towards the door, there was a sudden loud crash from outside. The sound tore through their newfound connection, punctuating the silence with urgency. What was that? Emily jumped, her grip tightening. Let us find out, Jake said, his heart pounding in his chest. With a quick glance at the letter, he shoved it into his pocket. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to embrace whatever waited for them outside. They opened the door together, stepping into the evening light, destiny shaping around them like a gentle breeze. Before they could reach the backyard, another figure rushed by, a silhouette in the shadows that made Jake's heart race. Hey! You too! The figure yelled. Jake's breath caught. Who was this? What could they possibly want? The uncertainty crackled in the air as they faced this new possibility, and Jake felt a mix of apprehension and thrill. What would unfold next, and how would it connect to the journey his father had urged them to undertake? Jake squinted against the dusk light, trying to make out the figure rushing toward them. It was tall and unsteady, the kind of person you'd expect to see in a movie, almost ghostly against the backdrop of the creeping night. He could feel the air shift, heavy with anticipation. Stop! The figure called again, desperation lacing each word. As the silhouette approached, clarity emerged, and Jake realized it was a familiar face, Mr. Thompson, their neighbor. His brow was drenched with sweat, and his eyes darted nervously, flickering like a candle in the wind. What's wrong? Emily asked, stepping forward, her concern palpable. Jake followed her, the anxiety in his chest tightening like a noose. Have you seen anything unusual? Mr. Thompson gasped, his breath ragged. A car? Some strangers? He hesitated, glancing back over his shoulder, as if he feared the shadows themselves. I think someone might be watching me. Jake's gut twisted. Watching you? Why would anyone, not just me? My backyard, there's something strange going on. Mr. Thompson blurted out, the urgency in his voice making Jake's heart race even faster. Before Jake could respond, the faint whir of an engine drifted through the night air, slicing through the stillness. They turned as a dark sedan crept down the road, slow and methodical. The headlights flickered on them like a spotlight, and Jake felt exposed. Instinctively, he linked his fingers tighter with Emily's, as if the simple act of connection could shield them. What should we do? Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Stay calm, Jake urged, trying to sound confident. Let us not panic. As the car came closer, Jake caught a glimpse of the driver. Squinting harder, he recognized the face, a woman he'd seen before around town, someone whose expression barely broke its serious demeanor. But here, in the growing darkness, it felt far more ominous. Let us get inside, Jake said, pulling Emily and Mr. Thompson back toward the house. We need to think. Once inside, Jake closed the door with a soft click, but it sounded thunderous in the silence that followed. They all stood there, breathless, uncertainty mapping out their next steps. "What do you think they want?" Jake finally asked, looking at Mr. Thompson. "Money? Information?" he suggested, and Jake could see a new fear crossing his face. "I don't know. I just know I've seen things. Just strange happenings." "What kind of strange?" Mr. Thompson shifted, an uncomfortable movement that sent ripples of tension through the room. "Late-night deliveries. Cars pulling in and out when no one should be there. And voices. I swear I heard voices the last time I went outside." Jake felt the chill of unease seep into his bones. This wasn't the kind of adventure he had anticipated after reading his father's letter. "Maybe we should call someone," Emily suggested, her voice low. "Like the police know?" Mr. Thompson said quickly, shaking his head. I can't. Please, there's more to this. If you call the police, they'll know I've been watching. I can't risk it." Confusion flooded Jake's mind. "What do you mean?" Jake watched as Mr. Thompson's face twisted, hiding layers of fear beneath a mask of desperation. "You don't understand, Jake. Some things, they aren't meant to be uncovered. Sometimes ignorance is protection." Suddenly, the sound of tires screeching to a halt outside made their hearts stop. They all turned to the windows. Jake pulled back the curtain slightly, revealing the glint of metal, the same dark sedan now parked directly in front of their house. "What are they doing?" Emily asked, panic growing in her voice. Before Jake could answer, a figure stepped out of the car. A tall man in a suit, looking sharp yet somehow foreboding. He glanced around before focusing on their house. Jake could feel the weight of his gaze, although they stood safely inside. He stepped back from the window, heart hammering. "What do we do? We have to figure this out now." The truth that lay ahead felt darker than any shadow, and they needed to prepare. A sense of urgency was growing, the kind that screamed for action but also begged for caution. What secret was waiting to be uncovered, and at what cost? As Jake looked at Emily and Mr. Thompson, an uneasy tension thrummed in the air. They needed answers, but would they truly be ready to face whatever was on the other side of the door? Jake's pulse raced as he backed away from the window. The man in the suit stood ominously in front of their house, his posture rigid like a statue. Fear clawed at Jake's throat as he turned to Mr. Thompson. "What's going on? Who is he?" "I don't know," Mr. Thompson whispered, his eyes wide and glistening. "But he looks like trouble. We can't let him know we're here." "We can't." Emily's grip tightened on Jake's hand, her breath hitching in the stillness around them. "What if he's the one they're watching?" she murmured, her eyes darting from the window to the door as if she expected the man to barge in at any moment. "Let us think this through," Jake said, forcing steadiness into his voice. "We need to keep quiet. Maybe he'll just leave." But deep down, he didn't believe it. The tension in the room was suffocating, and every passing second felt like an eternity. They leaned against the walls, breathing silently, each minute stretching out like a shadow. Jake couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the dark sedan seeming to loom larger outside. After what felt like an age, the man finally turned, his gaze sweeping across the front of the house again. Jake could feel the man searching, as if he somehow knew they were inside. Panic washed over him. What if the man reached into the car and pulled out something? At first, it was just a blurred shape in the gloom. But when he straightened up, holding something metallic and glimmering, clarity struck like a lightning bolt. "Is that a camera?" "What?" Mr. Thompson gasped, leaning closer. Fear carved lines into his face as he peered out from the curtain. "Oh no, he's taking pictures." "But why?" Emily whispered, her eyes widening. "What does he want from us?" "Whatever it is, it can't be good," Jake muttered. "He's not just here for a friendly visit." As if on cue, the man stood there, his gaze unyielding, snapping photos of the house with a flash that illuminated the shadows momentarily. With each click, Jake felt another piece of his composure erode. "We need to call the cops." "I don't care what Mr. Thompson says, no." Mr. Thompson interrupted, his voice rising in desperation. "You don't get it. If he sees you calling anyone, it'll be worse. We have to stay low." Jake could feel the anger flaring in him, mixing with fear. But doing nothing feels wrong. What if we're in danger? The sounds of the man's continued photography felt mocking against the quiet of their own inaction. Jake shifted from foot to foot, feeling like a caged animal. Emily's eyes met his, a quiet determination flashing through them. "We can't just sit here. Maybe we can sneak out the back, see where he goes?" Jake considered it. The idea sent a surge of adrenaline through him, but it came with its risks. "What about Mr. Thompson?" "I'm not leaving him," she insisted, her voice steady now. With a heavy sigh, Jake turned to Mr. Thompson. "Can you stay hidden? We'll be right back." Mr. Thompson swallowed hard, the tension radiating from him palpable. "Just be careful. If he catches you." There was no time to finish the thought. Jake and Emily exchanged a single, resolute nod and made their way to the back door. They moved as quietly as shadows, hearts pounding in sync with their footsteps, every breath heavier than the last. Jake opened the door slowly, heavy hinges creaking in protest. Outside, the night air was cool but electric with anxiety. They could make out the crunch of gravel under the man's shoes as he continued his vigil in front of the house. Stepping cautiously outside, they moved around the house, keeping close to the foundation. Each scrape of grass underfoot felt like a siren, warning them of the danger lurking in the dark. But as they crept along, a faint voice broke through the dark, a chilling call that sent shivers racing up Jake's spine. "Jake, Emily," the whisper echoed in the night, a person's voice they knew too well, but it couldn't be. They froze, their hearts pounding, as the shadows seemed to shift ominously around them. "Did you hear that?" Emily said, her eyes wide. "Who's there?" Jake called softly, an icy chill crawling down his spine. Whatever lay ahead was cloaked in mystery and danger, but they had no choice but to step forward into the unknown. Who was watching them? And who had called their names? With questions lingering in the air like thick fog, they needed to unearth the truth before it consumed them. Jake's heart raced as he scanned the darkened yard, trying to locate the source of the voice. It was haunting, familiar yet twisted, echoing like a ghost from his past. Emily's grip was a vice around his wrist, her panic palpable. "What was that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just stay quiet," Jake urged, his pulse pounding in his ears. "We need to see if it happens again." The air felt thicker as they waited, each second stretching into another. A rustle in the bushes to their left made them jump, but it was just a stray cat darting into the night. The tension between them hung heavy, an unspeakable fear linking their thoughts. Suddenly, from the shadows, the voice came again, slightly louder this time. "Jake." "Emily." The desperation lacing the call made Jake's stomach turn. "Who the hell is that?" Emily whispered, her eyes darting nervously. "I don't know, but it sounds urgent," Jake replied, peering into the darkness. He had to find out. "Stay close." With each step, they crept toward the front of the house, their breath silent as they maneuvered through the tall grass. The man in the suit was still there, his focus seemingly on the camera, unaware of the shadows inching closer. "Jake," the voice called once more, this time more distinct. It was a woman, and Jake's heart sank. "Help me." "Wait," Jake stopped, the sudden realization hitting him. That voice, it's Mom. Emily's wide eyes met his, disbelief mixed with worry. You think she's here?" "I have to find out," Jake said, his determination rising. He was not just going to stand idle while someone called for help. He squeezed Emily's hand as a silent agreement passed between them. Just as they rounded the corner of the house, the man in the suit suddenly turned, his eyes glinting in the darkness. He caught sight of them. "Run!" Jake shouted, adrenaline fueling him. They dashed behind a hedge, heartbeats hammering in their chests. "Where to?" Emily cried, urging him to decide as they crouched low. "Back towards the house. We might be able to sneak in through the kitchen," Jake said, leading the way. They stumbled through the wet grass, panting, trying desperately to make sense of the chaos rapidly unfolding around them. The call for help reverberated in Jake's mind as if etched deep within his soul. Now back at the kitchen door, Jake pushed it open. The hinges squealed in protest, but they slipped inside, closing the door with a soft click. Inside, the house was eerily quiet, save for their heavy breaths. "What do we do now?" Emily asked, fear mingling with urgency. "Mom could be in danger," Jake said, his hands trembling slightly. He couldn't let fear paralyze him. "We have to figure out what's happening. Why is she calling for us?" They snuck to the front of the house, keeping low. Jake leaned against the wall, listening intently. It was eerily still now, even the man outside was quiet. "Do you think he saw us?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know. But we can't wait around," he said, uncertainty creeping into his heart. "We need to make a plan to get out there, to find her." Suddenly, the house phone rang, the sound slicing through the silence like a knife. They exchanged panicked glances. "What if it's her?" Jake stared at the phone, heart racing. "Should we answer it?" Emily's eyes were pleading, yet terrified. There was no turning back now. Every instinct told him to pick it up, but what if it was a trap? Finally, with resolve, Jake moved to the phone. "If it's Mom," he trailed off, lifting the receiver cautiously. "Hello?" he said, his voice steady but his hands shaking. Silence on the other end. Then, a voice emerged, uneasy and familiar. "Jake, you need to listen." The tension in the air thickened as Jake braced for the truth, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. "Somebody's coming for you and it's not who you think." With dread pooling in his stomach, Jake realized they were caught in a web much larger than they could have ever imagined. Who had called? And what new danger awaited them? Questions buzzed in his mind as he turned to Emily, their fates entwined more than ever before. As the rain began to patter against the window like whispers of imminent doom, they braced themselves for what was yet to come. Jake's heart hammered against his chest. The voice on the other end of the line was unsettling, resonating with a chill that filled the dimly lit kitchen. He could feel Emily's anxious gaze on him, her eyes both fearful and pleading for assurance. "What do you mean it's not who I think?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady as uncertainty gnawed at him. The room felt suddenly smaller, the shadows closing in. He had to know more. "Listen closely," the voice continued, low and urgent. "Your mother is in trouble, but it's not just about her. There's a man, and he's not what he seems. You have to protect yourself, both of you." "Who is this?" Jake pressed, his tone sharper now, his resolve hardening the way steel does in the fire. The response came quickly. "Someone who knows the truth. You need to leave the house, Jake, right now." The line went dead. Jake dropped the receiver, his mind racing. Protect? They had come here hoping to find his mom, hoping against hope that she was okay, and now he was being told to run? The irony twisted his insides. They were in a horror movie, caught in a plot they didn't fully understand. And then he realized he didn't know what else lurked in the shadows. He turned to Emily, whose anxiety was palpable, almost suffocating in the confined space. "What did they say?" she asked, breath hitching. "It's bad, Em. Our mom, she's in trouble, and we shouldn't stay here." Emily's breath hitched, and she nodded, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But how do we find her?" "First, we need to get out of here. If there's really someone coming." Jake paused, the gravity of the situation sinking in with every second that passed. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to think clearly. "We should go out the back. The front's too exposed." "Okay, let us go." Emily's voice was a whisper, heavy with fear yet resolute. They tiptoed through the darkened kitchen, avoiding the creaky floorboards. The rain outside intensified, pelting against the windows like tiny fists demanding entry. It felt like the storm had a mind of its own, mirroring their anxiety through the tumultuous night. As they reached the back door, a sound made them stop. Footsteps. Heavy and deliberate. Someone was outside. "Stay low," Jake urged, his voice barely audible. They pressed themselves against the wall, breaths bated. The footsteps slowed, lingering just outside. Emily's face was pale, the fear of the unknown creeping in again. "What if it's him?" "I don't know, but we can't stay here." Jake's heart raced, adrenaline propelling him. "If we make a run for it, we have to get to the woods. It's our best shot." The footsteps shifted, moving away, and Jake took that as a sign. "Now!" he whispered fiercely, flinging the door open and sprinting into the darkness. The rain plastered their clothes against their skin, but there was no time for worry. They spotted the edge of the tree line ahead, thick woodland offering some security. With every hurried step, Jake's pulse pounded in rhythm with the mental countdown in his head. "Jake! Wait!" Emily's voice shattered through the rain. He turned to see her stumbling, catching herself just before hitting the ground. "Keep running!" he shouted, reaching back for her. They plunged into the trees, the towering trunks enveloping them in shadows. Yet, the safety of the woods didn't feel like safety at all. It felt like a trap, like they were being hunted. Behind them, twigs snapped underfoot. "Jake! What do we do?" she gasped between breaths. He scanned the dark path ahead, desperation clawing at him. They needed to lose whoever was following them. "We have to hide." They ducked behind a thick bush, hearts racing and breaths held. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, face lit by a slant of moonlight. "Jake! Emily!" The voice was sharp and unmistakable, slicing through the tension like a knife. Jake's stomach dropped. It was the man in the suit. "Don't move," he commanded, eyes glinting in the darkness. The world looped around them in chaotic uncertainty, and Jake felt the walls closing in. What now? He thought, the adrenaline pumping fiercely through his veins. As the man inched closer, Jake knew they were running out of time. "Stay quiet," he whispered to Emily, their fates hanging in the balance, sensing the eruption of danger surrounding them. But who could they trust in a world where everything was becoming so dark and twisted? Would they find their way out before it was too late? Jake clenched his jaw, adrenaline coursing through him like wildfire. The man in the suit was close, each step deliberate. Jake's every instinct screamed to run, to scream, but deeper down, fear held him in place. Emily's eyes were wide, reflecting both terror and an unspoken plea. "Who are you?" Jake finally gasped, his voice sounding weaker than he intended. "What do you want?" The man paused, his lips curling slightly, as if he was savoring the moment. "I know where your mother is," he replied, his tone smooth, but the edge in it made Jake shiver. "I know more than you think." "What do you know?" Jake shot back, trying to regain the authority of the situation, though sweat trickled down his back. The man took a step closer, the moonlight catching the glint of something metallic at his waist. "A weapon?" Panic surged through Jake's chest. "But if you want to see her again, you'll have to work with me." "Work with you?" Jake nearly barked, incredulous. "After what you just did? You just scared the hell out of us." He had half a mind to bolt, but where would they go? The woods felt endless, a mere shade of safety. The man laughed lightly, though it lacked humor. "Oh, your fear is understandable. But if you run, I promise you won't find her. There are forces at play here that you cannot comprehend, forces that will not hesitate to eliminate anyone who gets too close." Emily took a step forward, catching Jake's gaze with hers. "What do we do, Jake?" Her voice barely broke the silence, but it resonated through the chaos in his mind. "Just listen," the man insisted. His eyes locked onto Jake S., unwavering. You want your mother back? I can help you. But you need to trust me. Jake hesitated, weighing his options. A part of him screamed to run. The other couldn't shake the feeling that this man held answers, or at least a path to their mother. Why should we trust you? Because if you don't, she'll disappear from your life forever. You and your sister are in greater danger than you realize. The moment you walked into this town, you stepped into a web far thicker than what you see before you. The air grew thick, tension brewing like the storm overhead. What web? Jake pressed, trying to block out the chill creeping up his spine. For starters, the man leaned closer, dropping his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. You're not the only ones looking for her. Others are, two people who have no qualms about getting rid of anyone who gets in their way. Jake's heart sank. What do you mean? I mean you're not the only ones who care about her. You think she was just taken? That someone simply snatched her? No, Jake, this is part of something much bigger. Emily's hand gripped Jake's arm tightly. We need to get out of here, she whispered, her eyes darting around the darkened trees. Let me help you. The man softened his tone. He took a step back, hands open, almost disarming in his mannerism. I only want the best for you two, for your mother. But you have to come with me. Jake felt the weight of the decision pressing against him, a choice between trusting a stranger with unknown intentions and risking everything by going back alone. The rain began to fall heavier, drenching them in doubt. 5 seconds, Jake, the man said, glancing at the woods behind them, where shadows stirred. 5 seconds, and I can promise you one thing: she might never come home. Jake's heart raced as he counted the seconds in his head. Did he really have a choice? Okay, he finally breathed, his voice coming out as a whisper. But if you're lying, we'll find a way to stop you. The man simply smiled. Now, let us find your mother. As they began to move deeper into the woods, tension crackled in the air. Shadows danced around them, and every instinct told Jake they were walking into greater danger. The looming question hung heavy: was this a wise choice, or were they navigating into a trap? No answer loomed on the horizon, just uncertainty. And beneath it all, one thought echoed in the storm's booming whispers: could he really uncover the truth staring him in the face? The rain poured heavily, drenching them as they followed the man into the darkness of the woods. Jake gripped Emily's hand tighter, her warmth grounding him amidst the uncertainty. The stranger led the way, his movements confident, almost assured, as if he knew every turn, every hidden path of the forest. Where are we going? Jake's voice broke through the sound of thunder, laced with hesitation. To your mother, the man replied, glancing back at them with a sharp gaze. But first, you need to understand what's really at stake. They moved deeper into the woods, the trees towering above like ancient guardians. The underbrush crackled beneath their feet, and each step felt heavier, like walking through a haze of secrets. Jake could feel Emily's tension rising beside him, her pulse racing in their intertwined hands. What do you know about her? Who took her? Jake pressed, desperation clawing at his throat. Things are more complicated than you think, the man replied, his tone suddenly grave. Your mother was involved in something much deeper, something that has roots in this town and beyond. The people you're dealing with, they don't just want her, they need her. Fear coiled in Jake's stomach as he took in the weight of those words. Need her for what? Information. She's been a part of something that involves ties to power and control. The man paused, letting the implications settle. She discovered things that were never meant to come to light. What kind of things? Jake asked, his mind reeling. Things that could change lives and lead to consequences you can't even fathom. That's why you're in danger, and that's why you need me. As they walked on, the rustle of leaves whispered warnings, but Jake pushed thoughts of danger aside. He could feel Emily's fear vibrating through her grasp, and it fueled his drive to protect her. They had to keep moving forward. Suddenly, the man paused. We're close. But be prepared. Before he could finish, an eerie silence enveloped them. Jake's instinct screamed danger, and he felt every muscle tighten in anticipation. "Jake," Emily whispered, her breath hitching. Something's wrong then. From behind a cluster of trees, figures emerged, cloaked in shadows. Their presence was commanding, their expressions obscured, but Jake could feel the weight of menace radiating from them. "Stop right there." One figure called out, voice dripping with authority. "Run!" Jake shouted, yanking Emily forward, but a hand caught his shoulder, spinning him around. "Wait!" The man they followed insisted, lifting his hands as if to calm the situation. "They're here to help." "Help? Or harm?" Jake growled, adrenaline surging again. He pulled Emily closer, not trusting this ever-shifting reality. "They are part of the operation to protect your mother and you," the man replied, urgency rising in his voice. "Please, listen." As the figures stepped into the fading light, their faces began to resolve. They were not strangers at all. Jake recognized them from town: the local sheriff, his deputies, and friends he had grown up with. "What the hell is going on?" Jake demanded, confusion mingling with dread. "Jake Lawson," the sheriff spoke up, voice steady but firm. "We need to talk about your mother. She's in danger, and we're running out of time." The man interjected, urgency radiating from him as he pushed forward. "That's why we must collaborate. We're all involved in this." The sheriff frowned, glancing between the two groups. "We came looking for you, Jake. Your mother's disappearance ties into something much larger than any of us realized. We have intel that." Suddenly, a commotion erupted behind them, the sound of a car pulling into the wooded area. Headlights sliced through the dark like knives, illuminating the chaos and uncertainty of the moment. "Get down!" the sheriff ordered, instinct kicking in as they all dropped to the forest floor, the heaviness of reality thickening in the air. Jake held Emily close, his heart racing. The adrenaline pulsed through his veins as he peeked around the base of the tree to see who was approaching. The dark sedan that had stalked them before now stood just outside the tree line, illuminated ruthless silver in the night. "Do they know we're here?" Emily whispered, her voice shaky. The man in the suit nodded grimly. "They are looking for all of you. Your mother is at the center of this storm. If they find you now, everything will be lost." "What do we do?" Jake struggled to keep his voice steady, his pulse pounding in his ears. "We can't let them take her." The sheriff moved closer, his expression determined and earnest. "We need a plan, and quickly. This isn't just about you two anymore, it's about everyone connected to your mother." As the figures outside the car gathered, their voices raised, Jake could feel the crowd pulling at the edges of his thoughts. Tension crackled in the air, knotting around their small group hidden in the trees. The stakes rose higher, and the urgency became palpable. "Whatever happens next," Jake said amidst the noise, tightening his grip around Emily. "We will find her. We have to." With teamwork forged in trust, they crafted a plan to draw the attention of whoever had arrived at the car. Jake could feel the fire of resolve igniting within him. This was their moment to take control of their fate. As they emerged from the shadows, side by side, hearts racing with fear and determination, Jake silently vowed to protect Emily and confront the truth surrounding their mother. The stage was set. The night promised answers, and with every step deeper into danger, they prepared to face whatever dark revelations awaited. Together, they would weave a path forward, reclaiming not only their mother but also their lives entwined in resilience and courage. Tomorrow would be different. As dawn approached, they stepped toward the car lights, ready to confront their fears and unlock the truth. The shadows may loom, but together, they could light the way. And with that, Jake knew, they would forge any path necessary, fighting for love, for family, and for hope. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more amazing people like you. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. What do you think comes next? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.